Right. So at the end, when we are done printing, uh, the last most important step is to clean everything really, really well so that we maintain the tools, we keep a clean working studio, and we can all do progress. So the first thing that I'm gonna do is I'm going to gather the ink that I had been working with, and I'm going to save it. So this ink is not bad. This ink is actually good. So I don't want to put it back with my fresh ink because this is like really, really fresh. Instead, I'm gonna save it on some wax paper. So what I like to do is gather as much ink as I can. I like to cut a square of wax paper. I leave that to the side. I'm gonna use it in a second. And then very carefully, I'm gonna try to gather as much ink as I can in one side of the knife. So I think that's pretty good. And very carefully, be careful with because the corners of the knife can easily rip your wax paper. So just gently, you're gonna transfer that ink down to the wax paper. And if there is any remaining on the table, you can go ahead and also bring it over. And the idea is that when we pack ink on wax paper, this ink stays fresh for maybe like 4 weeks, like about a month or so. It's gonna be still usable. But obviously this is not as airtight as one of these. So it'll only last so long. But that's good because we can use it and not waste. So what I like to do next is simply fold it over, and I try to push any bubbles out. So any bubbles out, go out, and we simply pack it. At the end, when I'm done folding this over, you guys can make a note so that you know what it is. Maybe if I modify it or if I'm mixing colors, I can say, hey, this color is made out of these other colors, or so on. So you can always like add some notes to it so that you know what it is. You can go back to it and use it, no problem. Right, so I'm just gonna like finish folding my little pack of ink, and now this ink is good to store. So I can put it to the side, maybe you keep it in the same place, and you can do this with all the colors you use so that you go through this first instead of keep getting ink out of the container. Now, for my other tools, so I'm gonna have to clean my brayer in a specific way. So I will my knife and my table. So something that I like to do is simply roll a little bit of the excess out in a piece of paper, you know, so that it's a little bit easier to clean. I can fold this over, get some of that other excess out, and then it'll be a little bit easier to clean. I can discard this. This can go like straight to the garbage.
Swish.
And now I'm gonna bring my mineral spirits. So the only tool that I'm gonna clean with mineral spirits is the brayer, and that's because we need to ensure that we remove the ink of the surface of the brayer so that it stays nice, flat, or like smooth for future uses. So let's come with me and I'll show you where we store the mineral spirits. So in this flammable cabinet of the studio, you guys are gonna find the mineral spirits down here in the form of pumps. So these pumps on these red containers, this is where we will keep the mineral spirits for the rest of the semester. So using this pump is really easy because you can gather a little bit of mineral spirits at the time, which is great. So you guys are simply going to take your rag, pump it a little bit, and the rag is gonna catch some of that mineral spirits. And then I'm gonna proceed to clean my brayer very carefully, very patiently. And this process will take few minutes because I need to ensure that I'm removing all of the ink. I wanna also clean the sides of it, the handle, and I'm gonna get to that in a second. I like to fold over my little rag so that I can start cleaning with a cleaner spot every time. So the idea is to do this till the brayer doesn't give out any more black ink. So these brayers require a lot of love and attention. But if you do, it will last you a long time, many years of work. And since you guys brayers are nice and new, then it would be good to start keeping the map really well from the beginning. All right, so once I'm done removing most of the ink, I like to quickly jump to a cleaner rag. So I have another rag here. I'm gonna just use a little bit more just to give it the last wipe. And as you guys can see, there is like, I mean, just a little bit, but that's like very minimum to the amount of ink that was coming out of it at the beginning. So this kind of like, this is like the last wipe with a cleaner rag. So make sure that you do the handle, all of the framing structure, the sides of it, the sides of the brayer. And this is good to store. Now, remember to always store and rest your brayer upside down, never with the brayer down, because that creates a flat spot and that's gonna make a line on your inking. So always the brayer rests side up. All right, great. So now that I'm ready to clean the rest of my working area, I'm gonna first coat the ink with some veggie oil. So I like to squirt just a little bit of it, just a little bit of it's enough. And with my knife, I'm gonna loosen up that ink. So the more you loosen this up, the easier it's gonna be to clean out. So I'm gonna just take a second, be patient. I'll turn my knife around. And what's great is that this is a very nice and easy and expensive way of cleaning this kind of ink. And it's a lot more environmentally friendly also. All right, great. So I feel like this is working great. And now I'm ready for the last cleaning. I'm gonna use the dirty rag again because we want to use this as much as possible to give it all the cleaning power that it can. And I'm gonna catch all of that excess ink with this rag. So notice that I'm trying to minimize the mess. So I'm not spreading the mess, I'm like kind of like trying to make it fall in one spot. Now this is great and it looks very clean from the video, but since I have been using veggie oil, now this table is really oily. So the very last step of the process is to use some simple green. So simple green is a great degreaser. So we can just simply squirt a little bit of simple green, pick a good, nice, clean area of my rag. I can even like quickly like wipe my palette knife. I want to make sure that I'm not only getting the back and the front of the blade, but also the edges and the handle all the way around. It's very important that we clean the entire tool, not just the blade. And this is all nice and clean. So that's how you guys clean.